The abuse that you experienced as a child, the neglect, the abandonment, we have two choices. We can view what we experience as a child and the wounds that we have carried as something that is a detriment to us. It can cause us to have toxic relationships, not have the career that we desire and want, and it can cause us to live a life that we aren't truly destined for, feeling sorry for ourselves. Or those wounds that you experienced as a child, as a teenager, can turn into your greatest gift. It can be what truly helps you awaken. It can be what helps you remember that you are divine, so that you can live this life in the way that you were meant to, the reason that God put you here. And it's all your choice. And what I'm going to show you now is a teaching on how these wounds that you carry can become your greatest gift, ultimately when you make this choice. Let's get into it now. So now that we have become more aware of the wounds, what we are going to do now is talk about how our wounds are actually our greatest gift. So we're going to go to the whiteboard now. When you were a child, what happened is that when you come to this earth, you go from being a soul, and then you incarnate into a human body, and you become a baby. And when that process happens, you go through this experience where there is this veil that is created. And if you want to take notes on this, this would be incredible. So this veil is created. You go from being a soul that has all its knowledge, all the knowledge that it could ever possibly need, and knows it's divine. It knows that it is infinite. It knows that it is one with God. And then it gets born, and this veil is created. And that veil causes you to forget all of your divinity. It causes you to forget that you are an aspect of God. And so what happens is when you forget and there's that veil there, you go through this process of 1 to 7 years old. From 1 to 7 years old, what is being formed is your subconscious mind. The subconscious mind, it influences 95% of your reality. And so as you are born into the world, and then you're maybe born into a family where there is abuse, there is neglect, there is emotional dysfunction. For me, I was born into a family where there was a lot of fear. There was constant stress, constant tension. And so that is the environment that I grew up in. And now your soul also chose to come and be a part of that family and go through this process of forgetting. And so when this process of forgetting happens and you're learning your environment, you're much more malleable. What you experience often are wounds. And examples of these wounds are abuse, neglect, and abandonment. The abuse, neglect, and abandonment, what happens is that causes you to create stories. And these stories are typically, I'm not enough, I'm not lovable, I'm not worthy, I'm not deserving. And these wounds end up getting stored in your body. So that I'm not enough gets stored in the body. That I'm not lovable gets stored in the body. That I'm not worthy gets stored in the body. I'm not deserving gets stored in the body. And so what happens is you become this adult that has these stories within themselves that was formed from the wounds that you experienced from 1 to 7 years old. And it can be after 7 years old as well. Your subconscious mind is just forming through these years. And so now this 95% is influencing the 5% of your external reality. Let's call that the ER. So your external reality, relationships, your job, your career, the way that you live, it is all being formed from these wounds that you experienced as a child that influence your subconscious mind. And so that subconscious mind, it lives within the body. And your body now has these wounds stored within it that is creating these stories, which is influencing your reality, which is infiltrating into all areas of your life. And so your relationships are based on your wound. Your job is based on your wound. The career based on the wounds. The way that you live, all based on the wounds. The wounds that you experienced as a child. Could have been that your dad was abusive. Could have been that your mom neglected you. Could have been that dad left, so you experienced abandonment. Could have been that you had 5 brothers and sisters and you didn't get the attention that you needed as a young one. For myself, I grew up in a family, like I mentioned, where there was a lot of fear. So people were in fear and they didn't know how to love. So I was neglected, I was emotionally abused, and I felt abandoned. So all 3 of these were within me that caused me to create these stories that then caused me as a 24-year-old to have all these stories inside of me, to have it be manifested in the physical as an autoimmune condition, depression, and constant anxiety. And it infiltrated into all areas of my life. Toxic relationships, not doing exactly what I want to do with my life. It infiltrated everywhere and ultimately brought me to the place where I was contemplating my life at 24 years old. And so these wounds, what they do is they ultimately cause us to make a choice. We can either let it influence all areas of our lives. It will continue with toxic relationships. You'll never have the career that you want. You'll live in an environment which isn't the best for you, and you can live your life in that way. Or option 2 is that it can become your greatest teacher. That is what it did for me. That's why I'm here speaking to you right now. Is because I chose to make the wounds my greatest teacher. That's what many of you are doing here too. And so how do we do this? How do we make the wound our greatest teacher? How do we make the abuse, the neglect, the abandonment our greatest teacher? How do we change these stories? What we have to do is remember. And this is the process that we go through. So you were a soul that came down onto earth, chose to forget with this veil, because that is third density reality. You incarnate onto a planet, third density planet Earth, to forget. And why is that? It's so that you can remember. How do we go through the process of forgetting to remember? Well, we have to awaken and we have to ascend. How do we do that? We ultimately need to heal. And what do we need to heal from? We need to heal from our wounds. We need to heal the abuse, the neglect, the abandonment that is living inside of our bodies. How do we do that? We have to feel and release these. And so we do breath. We do the somatics. We get into the body and we feel what is here. And as we start to feel, as we start to heal, we feel that abuse. We feel that neglect. We feel that abandonment. We feel that lack of self-love. We feel the traumas that we went through. And what happens as you do that is that as you heal and you start to release what has been inside of you, you start to find more and more love within yourself. And what you do is that you discover that you are love. You discover that you are one with God. You discover that you are divine. And what that does takes these stories of I'm not enough, I'm not lovable, I'm not worthy. And what happens is that you find that you are love, you are one with God, you are divine. And as you do that, you start to remember that you are divine. All those things that you forgot as a child. You came into this world and you forgot. You start to remember it. And what that does is it helps you awaken. It helps you ascend. And as you awaken and you ascend, want to know what turns on? Want to know what comes out? Want to know what you remember more and more of? Is your gifts. You remember the gifts that your soul has. You remember the mission that you were brought onto this earth to live. And as you go through this process of forgetting to remember, these gifts turn on, and then you are able to share them with everybody else that's been forgetting. And you get to help others remember. You get to help them awaken and ascend through your gifts. It might be a breathwork facilitator. It might be doing Reiki. It might be speaking. It might be writing a book. It might be creating a school. Whatever it is, you get to share your gifts so that you help people go through this process too. And what it helps us do is it helps us all remember that we are love, we are one with God, we are divine. And that is the beautiful process that we are all going through right now. And so these wounds that you chose to experience as a soul, these wounds that used to drag you down, used to create these stories, led to the toxic relationships, having a job that you don't like. Well, you make the choice to allow them to become your greatest teacher. Because if these wounds were not here, we would not be able to go through this process of forgetting to remember. Because our soul wants to evolve. It wants to expand. It wants to grow. It wants to know itself on the deepest level that it can. So it chooses to forget in order to remember. It chooses to go through the wounds so that it can heal. And through its healing, it can remember again and again that it is love, it is one with God. So your wounds are your greatest teacher and become your greatest gift that helps you remember. Make sense? Beautiful. So what choice are you going to make? Are you going to make the choice to allow your gifts to become your greatest teacher so that you can help yourself awaken and you can help everyone on this planet start to awaken so that we can go and create the new earth that we all speak about? Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to make that choice? Because your soul chose to go through those wounds in order to help them awaken, help you awaken through healing your wounds and stepping fully into your gifts. That's what you're here to do. That is what you are meant to do. That is why God put you here and you put yourself here. So make that choice, make that decision, and start sharing your gifts with the world. Heal from these wounds and see the superpowers that you hold inside of yourself. And if you would like more help with that, the first link down in the description will take you to Ascension University, which is the exact place that I help you heal from your wounds in order to step into your deepest gifts and start to share these gifts with the world. We have members from all over the world stepping in, healing, and sharing their gifts. We are one of the fastest growing spiritual communities in the entire world, and I would love for you to be a part of it. So go and check out that first link in the description. And if you like this video, please make sure to subscribe, share, and like it. It helps out this channel so much and allows this message to get to more people. I love you. I will see you in the next video. Peace.